Hey guys, what's up? This is Dingo Crikey here with another commentary video. This time I'm going to be doing a discussion topic on Transformers 5. If you guys are interested in more news and commentary on the 5th Transformers film, the Transformers 4 Age of Extinction toy line, or just general Transformers discussion topics, please check out my playlist and channel where I also have a number of Transformers stop motion videos, some of which are previewed here. But for this video, I'm going to be doing a viewer requested topic, and that is, will deceased Autobot characters return in Transformers 5? Just as a heads up, this video will contain spoilers for Transformers 4 Age of Extinction and Transformers Dark of the Moon, so if you're concerned about that, you've been warned. But anyways, I thought this would be a good topic to take up because obviously a lot of people were pretty upset after seeing the deaths in Transformers Age of Extinction or absences of characters, and knowing the possibility of characters returning throughout various Transformer cartoons after having died or seemingly died, came really close to death. It seems like it's a plausible idea that some of these characters could return in the future Transformer films. And even more so because we've seen that Megatron, after dying at the end of Dark of the Moon, was taken into a Transformium laboratory and basically was rebuilt as Galvatron, but he somehow transferred his consciousness and memories into that new body. Hence, he's sort of like the same character. Maybe not exactly, but, pretty close. With that in mind, I'm only going to be discussing characters who got killed off in Transformers Dark of the Moon or Age of Extinction, not ones who were killed in Revenge of the Fallen or the first Transformers film. And pretty much that's because the only characters that have been brought into the Transformium laboratories, from what we could tell, are characters who were killed off in Dark of the Moon and in Age of Extinction. The characters that died in the first Transformers film and Revenge of the Fallen, I guess we're supposed to assume their scraps were just dumped at the bottom of the ocean or something like that. Also, this isn't necessarily talking about characters such as Sideswipe, Roadbuster, and Dino, because while we can assume that they were probably supposed to die between Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction, we're not really for sure about that, so, they don't really fall into this category. But there are some of them that we know for sure were killed off in the last two movies, and I would say those are Sentinel Prime, Q or Wheeljack, Ironhide, Ratchet, and Leadfoot. Now, I don't think Ironhide can really fall into this list of even being a possibility to be brought back, because I think we're supposed to assume that after Sentinel Prime shot him with the Rust Blaster, it would have eventually disintegrated his entire body, and there really wouldn't be anything left to mess with. Not even the spark, I don't think, would survive that. Perhaps in other Transformers media where the spark is a little bit more like this globe of energy or something like that, but I don't think they put that much thought into it in the movie, so I'm not going to include Ironhide. So off the top of my head, Q, Leadfoot, Sentinel, and Ratchet. I guess we don't know for sure that Q's corpse was brought to the Transformium laboratory unless someone has seen it in the film. Or Leadfoot, if he made it there before the Autobots raid and everything with Galvatron went down. But looking at those characters, along with any other possibly deceased Autobots, I guess it's within the range of possibility in the Transformer films that these characters could be rebuilt or brought back to life in some form with the technology of the KSI, as was done with Galvatron. As for Ratchet, we know his spark was specifically removed by lockdown. So while much of his body might have been melted down anyways, his spark is still separate from his body. So if the movies follow more of the line of thinking like Energon and Beast Machines, that the spark can be removed from the body and placed in a new one, and that Transformer will still be alive in a new shell, so to speak, then I guess there's good chances that Ratchet could come back and it doesn't really matter what happened to his body. Maybe the Autobots would work with the KSI after they find Ratchet's spark and lock down ship or something like that, and they have the KSI build him a new body, preferably that looks something like his old one. But we have seen in other Transformers media, I believe it's this way in Transformers Armada, that the spark body relationship isn't exactly like that. We were given the idea that the spark was like the consciousness of the Transformer, but it wasn't just a spiritual entity. It was sort of like the heart of a human being at the same time. You know, you can't remove the spark from a body and then put it in a new one, and you've just transferred the consciousness of that Transformer. It was more like if a Transformer's body was very, very badly damaged, but the spark was still intact. You could build around the spark and what was left of the body to improve that Transformer and renew their life. But I don't know if we've really been given any indication on how the movies really handle this concept. For one thing, we have certain characters such as Megatron who are obviously able to operate on some level of consciousness with just their head. And I believe in most Transformers media, the spark is contained in the body of the Transformer. I think they have some kind of brain neuroprocessing going on in their head, but it would be more equivalent to a computer at that point, you know, just this database of information, or like a human brain, than like a human who actually still is alive and has consciousness. So it's tough to say there, but I think if they really wanted to, they could revive Ratchet for the next film. They could just finagle some kind of an explanation. These movies aren't all about logic, so I guess they could still bring him back. Now, the possibility within the universe of these characters returning isn't the big question. The biggest question is, what is the likelihood that the makers of the movie would want to bring these characters back? So in the case of characters such as Leadfoot and Ratchet, not necessarily talking about characters such as Topspin and Roadbuster who weren't confirmed to have been killed off, but just the ones we know for sure were killed off between Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction, or those two movies. I don't think any of them are going to be coming back in Transformers 5. And I think a lot of it's just that it isn't really the way these movies run. They're not like heavily character-based movies. So when they kill a character like Ratchet off, or someone even like Ironhide, a lot of hardcore fans and people who are really into these characters, maybe kids who love their Ironhide toy, that kind of thing, that makes them really upset. But for most of your moviegoers, I mean, they really couldn't care less about the characters who die, especially the Transformer characters. I mean, it's not like what happens to Professor X and X-Men The Last Stand. I mean, that had a lot of people upset because, you know, people going into the movies, they know Professor X, people love Patrick Stewart, so it makes sense that they would want to bring him back for Days of Future Past. I just don't think there's that kind of demand for the characters in the Transformers film. I mean, same with a character such as Han Solo in Empire Strikes Back. I mean, if they just left him out of Return of the Jedi and Lando said something like, oh, we can't rescue him, you know, people would be in an uproar. If a similar thing happened to, let's say, Dino in the Transformers movies, I don't think most of the audience would really notice. And unfortunately, most of the Autobot cast probably wouldn't care that much, judging by how they've acted in the past movies, though it's improved in Age of Extinction. Basically, the people making these movies probably wouldn't see any advantage in bringing these characters back, especially after they killed them off in the last two. I mean, they could just bring in new characters instead, you know, market new toys, have some new guys on the screen with different weapons, do all sorts of new crazy stuff, and I think that's what these movies are about. Now, I'm not saying that's the way I want to see it happen. I mean, I'm definitely not a fan of, you know, how lax the movie treats the Transformer characters, but I'm just saying I think that's the way it is. I don't think there's a high chance of these guys coming back, just due to the way these movies are produced and the audience they're targeted towards. I mean, the Transformer movies aren't like this planned out, masterful story. They pretty much just kill characters off for dramatic purposes or to further the plot. And personally, for me, I'm not affected by a lot of the deaths that we have seen in the movie. I mean, Jazz could have been a really cool character, but he just didn't get that kind of development, so that is a disappointment, but he hasn't really been developed within the movies themselves. Ironhide was cool, and that was just a shame that he died that way. Either of those two, if they could bring them back, that would be cool, but I really don't think those two would be brought back. But as far as characters like Leadfoot, I mean, you know, he didn't really have a whole lot of development. I don't think the Autobots would resurrect Sentinel Prime anyways, because he was a bad guy in Dark of the Moon, so And characters like Ratchet, though, I would like to see Ratchet come back. I would like to see something like the Autobots find where Spark is being held in lockdown ship and they rebuild him a new body, and Ratchet returns to the Autobots, and maybe he works with Cade Yeager and like Cybertronian mechanics, mixing that with Earth mechanics, that kind of stuff. Something like that would be kind of cool, but I really don't think they're going to go that direction. As far as other characters, I mean, there's certain ones like Sideswipe who I'd really like to see return. I mean, yeah, he hasn't had a lot of development, but he's just a really cool character from what we do see, and he always gives us cool toys. Some other ones, Roadbuster Tops. I mean, those would be cool ones to see, but I'm not too affected by them. I just have a personal bias towards Sideswipe, I guess. So, to put it into summary, yes, I would like to see certain characters who were killed off in Age of Extinction, Dark of the Moon, or between the two films return somehow. I think there are possible ways within the universe of the Transformer films that they could bring characters back, but I highly, highly doubt any of them will be returning. The most likely possibilities are, like I said, characters who we weren't for sure if they had died between Age of Extinction and Dark of the Moon, and maybe someone like Ratchet since he did have a bigger role. But that's all I have to say for this one. You guys can leave any additional thoughts in the comment section below. Which Autobots would you like to see return most? Maybe you don't care about them bringing back old Autobots and would rather just new characters come out. Maybe you really, really want to see Ratchet return and his death in Age of Extinction really affected you in a negative way. Leave it below in the comments section, along with any topic suggestions that could pertain to Transformers 5, the Transformers 4 Age of Extinction toy line, or general Transformers discussion topics. I've gotten a lot of discussion topics for Transformers 5 within the last few videos, so thanks a lot for you guys who are giving those. I really appreciate it. And, I'll try to get around to whatever topic suggestions you have. And, of course, I'll be uploading some videos with topics that I came up on my own, such as the Hotshot versus Bumblebee, who is the better character one, which has actually gotten a lot more attention than I expected it to, so wasn't really expecting that, but it's pretty cool. Anyways, that's all I have to say for this video. Stay tuned for more commentary videos, and check out my previous ones if you haven't already done so, along with my Transformers stop motion videos. See you later, and have a good one, guys.